I want to talk about sharing mission as a community. And this is something that I describe as missional agriculture because it takes a process just like growing a crop or just like growing a harvest. And first, we might think about this. This first big circle is about sowing. Sowing is when the farmer goes out and he just scatters seed. And so your community likely has a mission that's pretty big and broad. It might have hundreds of people that you're trying to reach. Imagine thinking through, you're trying to reach your entire neighborhood. That could be hundreds or even thousands of people. Even if you say an entire elementary school or high school or entire sector of industry, it's thousands of people. And to do that kind of sowing of just scattering of seeds, kind of making yourself and your community available and present in that space, you might think about 4 or 6 engagements a year. For example, if it was a whole neighborhood, you might think, oh, we're going to go to the Christmas festival in the center. If it's an industry, you're going to say, we're going to go to this big conference and all of us are going to participate in it. It's almost like a quarterly, hey, we're going to go and we're going to be visible as people and make connections there. Then the next sort of thing that happens is reaping. That's when the farmer goes out and he begins to gather up all the things that have grown. This is more like tens of people. And these activities are 6 to 10 times a year. And you might think through if your own missional community is for an entire neighborhood or entire group of people, you might think, okay, what can we invite those hundreds of people into and making that big group even smaller, where it's people we know their face, we recognize them, we know their names, they're kind of acquaintances, they're not like best friends, but they're people that we know. So you might think, oh, from this neighborhood, we're going to gather together some families for some specific picnic or party or that kind of thing, or we're going to gather everyone in our apartment complex. It's not this huge thing. It's now tens of people that you invite people into. And you might think that's 6 to 10 times a year, maybe once a month, every other month, somewhere in there, you're gathering together this group of tens of people. And then the last is keeping. Now, keeping is the part where the farmer actually looks at the fruit that's grown from their harvest and begins to pull out and pick and store, because those are the things they're going to eat and they're going to keep. Keeping is the most intimate of missional process. It's 1 to 2 people, 3 to 4 families, like a very tiny group of people. And this is, you might think through pretty clearly, of having a one-on-one or just a few people together at a fire pit over dinner, going and getting drinks, in which the gospel is clearly being communicated directly to people, where hardships are truly being brought together, where you're able to enter into their lives at a deep and meaningful way. The last thing I would just say about this is similar to the pattern that Jesus had. He would preach the gospel and he would be in towns and villages where there'd be thousands of people that would see him and his disciples. But then there were always smaller groups of parties of 10s, 20s of people, or big debates in the center of town where there's lots of people, about 10 to 20 people. But then there were intimate moments where Jesus is just having a conversation with the woman at the well, or Jesus is just having a conversation with Zacchaeus. And it's so close and it's so tangible. And that is the part in which the gospel and the good news about Jesus and his kingdom really begins to take hold in other people's lives. And so this is missional agriculture for you to consider in your own community as well.